All right, we're gonna jump in. I have a lot to share. I don't know what we're gonna get through, and we could get through all of it. I'm not sure yet. So this will be a nice little case study for us. My name is Preston McFarland. I am the contracted senior brand advisor for AZ Golf. I've been with them for about a year now, coming to a close this December. Previous background in marketing and advertising. Have worked specifically in brand creative strategy for about the last 9 years. Previous to AZ Golf, I was on the agency side, taking care of accounts like Nike, Apple, Jordan, and Uber Eats. And after the agency side, went brand side for a company called Bad Birdie and worked as their head of brand on their apparel side. So, very, very familiar with golf. AZ Golf brought me in to help with a rebrand and also redefine some partnerships, outward communication, and general comms in general. So, really excited to jump in with you guys. Just a couple things to call out on this first slide is this is all marketing. This is all like tabloid stuff, right? Editorial, magazines. A lot can be taken away from this page. Everything from Kim Kardashian to Kobe being branded like 18 different ways throughout his career to astronauts making it to the moon, whether you believe it or not. I'm not going to be the one to sway you one way or another. But also, I kind of hit Red Bull down here as well, right? Like we really come to know and recognize Red Bull, no matter if it's a can or if it's a cartoon or if it's somebody jumping out of a helicopter. So I just want to kind of call that out right off the bat. A couple ground rules, please interrupt. This is meant to be very conversational. I would love to collaborate with you guys on this. I don't really care if you raise your hand. If you start yelling stuff out at me, that's totally fine too. But I would love to hear what you guys think. I would love to also hear what you're working on and any major hurdles that you might be working through at this moment. Also, as we go through this, I fully recognize that this is not a one-size-fits-all. What I actually mean by that is all of this is very, very scalable. Now, what you might see in this deck might not be directly being able to repeat it within your own organizations based on resources, headcount, so on and so forth, but all of this is scalable. So I hope that you just get something out of here to take back to your own association, whether it be a directive towards content, whether it be a way to showcase a tournament, even maybe to lock in the color palette for your brand moving forward. We'll kind of go through this as like a major crash course in brand. And again, just know that this is scalable and you can take away the things that actually resonate with you and take back to your organization. Cool. Okay, first things first. And sorry if this text is small. I thought I bumped it up pretty large, but if you can't read it in the back, I'll read it for you. So, kind of with the super traditional route with this third slide here and like defining brand, I think it means 1,000 different things to 1,000 different people. But this is the way that I currently believe that it actually stands within the industry now. And that definition is the outward blend of personality and visuals portrayed by a company or individual, right? It is like this, where the tides meet between the touchy-feely stuff, that is your personality, to the actual visuals that you portrayed outward. So, dive into this a little bit further. I'm defining personality on the left, visuals on the right in terms of how they interact with your overall brand. So the first thing is personality driven by tone and feel to create an outward character, right? Like we all have very close friends that we know their character. We know if they said something or if they didn't say something based on how well we know them, right? Like that's the personality of your brand. The main takeaways or the main drivers within this, or questions to kind of help you back into that, is who are you talking to? How do you communicate? Are you inclusive? Are you competitive? Are you, friendly in your outward communication? Are you inviting? What is your consumer's reaction to your message? Do they want to sign up? Do they want to play golf? Whether it be within your organization, a sanctioned event, or outside of it. And then what do we want them to know about us? Yes, we do competitive tournaments. We also do scramble days. We also have a publication that you might be able to get some value out of. Sign up for our emails if you want to know some values that we bring specific to our membership, things like that, right? And then we also have our whole other side of the pillar, which is on the right side of this slide, and that's visuals. So that's utilizing optics to create a recognizable brand look. There's a reason why they say pictures say 1,000 words, right? And that's because there's also like social apps that revolve strictly around imagery, right? People go to Pinterest, myself included, for like mood boards and stuff, and you're just diving into imagery without knowing what you're actually looking at, right? So the overall goal here within your brand is that you create a unique and uniform brand visual. So words aside, people know whose it is, or people know who's actually marketing back to it. A couple questions again to drive into that is how do you escape industry clutter, right? Like golf tends to be traditional. I mean, think about all the different apparel brands that have popped up the last 4 years within golf, all fighting their way to hopefully get some sort of credibility within the marketplace. Okay? So how are you actually creating something to escape that clutter, stand out, and be recognizable? Second question, how do you include consumers into your content? Consumer-generated content is incredible, it's amazing, people want to hear it from the actual consumers rather than the brands. Now, how do you do that as an association? One really awesome way that a lot of associations are doing that incorporation tactic is they're interviewing the winners or the players post-tournament, pre-tournament, throughout the tournament, so on and so forth, right? So golfers over here for other golfers. And then, what does your imagery say about you? Again, like when we really drive into photography, specifically on the AZ golf front, I was very, very hesitant to push swing pick, swing pick, swing pick, swing pick, swing pick over and over and over again, because if we post that, right, there's who's to say that that doesn't look exactly the same as another organization or association on the other side of the US, right? Yes, there might be like a big ass cactus in that, which might be identifiable, but I really drove down on my team to make sure that we are capturing those in-between moments, really candid moments that actually show raw emotion, whether it be happiness or frustration. If I had a picture for every single time, like I have somebody like leaning over their putter like this after they just flipped out, right? Like I could do a whole highlight reel like that. And those pictures are awesome, right? It's like what we come to know about golf. You have your best round, followed by your worst. And that's why we all still play for some reason. Something's wrong with us. But that's what makes this sport so beautiful. So let's make sure that we're actually putting some visuals behind that. Okay, so I've hit on personality and I've hit on visuals, right? Those are your building blocks to go into brand. Now, with that being said, if we kind of move inward towards each other, we have those two branches to then create two different documents to really make sure that we're staying in step with our overall brand direction, right? So the first one is brand approach. Again, this is personality, left side. Oh, I have a laser pointer. Hey, there. And that feeds into your brand approach, right? So that's like, again, the touchy-feely stuff, the stuff that is really defined by copy, less visuals. And then on this side, we have our brand guidelines. That's like your company mark or logo, depending on what you like to call it. Your color palette, your font, how all of those three things interact together, your visuals, so on and so forth. So I just want to make sure that we're hitting on the point that we have these two separate documents, brand approach and brand guidelines, and those funnel up into all of your communication channels, website, social, recaps, content, email, publication, even events, how you brief your volunteers for activations, talking points that you give them, so on and so forth. This can like cover everything that you guys do outwardly for your associations. Cool. Any questions so far? Okay. All right, the results or signs of a strong brand presence. Number one, it needs to be identifiable and credible within the market, right? Identifiable, if you do something enough the same way over and over and over again, people will start to recognize that. It'll become identifiable. Again, also like credible within market, you want to make sure that people know that you are a professional within the sport, right? As AGAs, our major push is to uphold golf, to make sure that we're all playing the same game, to uphold the rules of the game, and also create a very competitive platform while introducing new people to the sport, right? So that creates that credibility within that. Number two, all the visuals projected into your communication channels need to be uniformed. You need to look the same on your website as you do on social, as you do on your emails, and as you do on your publication. I know that sounds like a no-brainer, but quite honestly, that's the hardest part, right? It takes a lot of effort, and for something like those two documents that I just mentioned a second ago, right? That's your brand guidelines, right? That is, hey, we want to make sure that we always look visually the same approach. We need to make sure that we're communicating the same. And then number 3, our brand needs to live as a catalyst for personal connection. The idea here and the resonating fact behind this is called seeding. It is what Nike and Jordan have been doing for probably the last 50 years. They target high school or middle school students, high caliber athletes. They start sending them shoes, and in turn, they become emotionally attached to said footwear because they play well in said footwear. Played lacrosse throughout high school. I can tell you I played way better in Nike cleats than I ever did Under Armour. For the sole fact that the one injury I had happened in Under Armour cleats. I'll never put them back on my feet. Right? So like that idea of creating those positive interactions or those positive emotional connections with a brand or a product is called seeding. And that's the big emphasis within this last one is like personal connection. And then when all these 3 things come together, we need to provide a reason for consumers to invest in our story. Right? That is like the hook, line, and sinker. Right? We want to make sure that people take the next step, whether if they're not a member, they are interacting with us, and in hopes to kick them off as a member internally. This is your member acquisition play, if you have that understanding on that side. But at the same time, like even if somebody sees an AZ Golf publication in their local course and they're not a member, I want them to pick it up and interact and flip through that book, and hopefully they leave it, or better yet, hopefully they take it home and share it with others. Right? Cool. All right, so now it's time to pull back the curtain a little bit. I'm going to show you guys some work that we knocked out at AZ Golf and kind of put like all these major actionables into actual visuals for you guys so you can see how this comes together. Okay, so to refresh, brand approach, touch, feely stuff, right? So insights, first things first, you need to understand what's happening in your market. This is WMPO, Waste Management Phoenix Open, arguably the most rowdy tournament ever to be done, especially last year. I got some work to do this year for sure. But, whoops. Insights for us is AZ Golf. Never have we witnessed a sport with such influence, transcending worldly hurdles of class, political abuse, global sickness in nearly 6 centuries of time. Golf has been, is, and will continue to be a bonder of generations, community, and competition. Even extending off-course, sites like Topgolf, Popstroke, and driving ranges live as the industry's gateway drug while introducing adopters to the game in its simplest form. Golfer's in the driver's seat and isn't letting off the gas, let's ride a shotgun, right? So coming out of like all the research findings that we talked about this morning, right? Like industry growth is still on a really, really great trajectory. Get on the bus or you're just going to leave it behind, right? Opportunity here. Golf does not discriminate. Meeting golfers where they are requires us to explore territory outside of the country clubs and sanctioned events. What I mean by that is even outside of our AZ Golf events, we are meant to be a projector of golf throughout the state of Arizona. We can also highlight other events that we don't throw ourselves. Instead, we will reflect on our relationship with that little white ball and highlight the moments and locations that have the greatest impact on our love for the game. Organically binding ourselves as AZ Golf to these moments will create positive associations with sport, in turn, our offerings as an organization. Again, seeding, right? We want to create that emotional connection to golf, in turn, bringing those members for us. All right, I'm going to take a step back real quick. So when it comes to this industry findings and also just our general opportunity, guys, this is brand opportunity. This is not being so tactical of like, hey, we're going to target such and such specific age range, or hey, we are going to pop up within these tactics, right? This is much more like top level. Let's understand the landscape from those elements that we can use to pull on people's heartstrings. Cool. Now, our brand objectives for AZ Golf. Embrace new areas of industry growth and evolution. That is a huge one. We want to be a leader in golf for the state of Arizona. We want to introduce new people to the sport in ways that they may never even thought possible. Right? Number 2, construct connection points that pique the interest of all level players. We just don't want just the top 3 most competitive golf, top 3% of golfers within the state of Arizona that are extremely competitive. No, we want to increase our membership to all golfers within the state of Arizona, right? Number 3, advanced art influences golf's driving force not only in AZ but the nation. We want to give reason for people to hold a membership in California and come to Arizona and still have a full membership, right? Like we want people to have memberships full spots. Now, with that being said, your objectives should always be directly answered by your strategies. So I'm going to flip back and forth on these slides. I'm sorry if the flash goes kind of gnarly. But strategy number 1 goes directly back to objective number 1, right? Embracing new areas of industry growth and evolution. How do you do that? You pinpoint non-traditional activation opportunities and potential partnership avenues, right? Who are you partnering with that allows you to do something that you could not do yourselves? That's huge. You should never partner with anybody that does the exact same thing for you, unless it's like a charity event or something like that that can really have major impact, right? But the purpose of partnerships is always to expand your reach. Strategy number 2. Objective, how do we actually construct that connection points that pique the interest of all level of players? You do that by leveraging industry insights to build intentional communication channels that resonate with targeted respective golf personas or AZ golf personas, right? We took a really hard look at our publication and we realized like, hey, we can be much more intentional with how we're communicating here. We can tell a different story of maybe somebody that's not like the top level golfer within the state of Arizona. Also, we can tell stories of people that don't live in Arizona, right? Because they're just as impactful. So really taking a deep dive into that. Last one, advanced influence as golf's driving force in AZ, but also the nation. How do you do that? You catalyze golf through committed governance, advocacy, and excellence, right? We are fully understood. Hi, Ange. Ange is on our team. She knows this very, very well. How do you actually do that? You have to make sure that you're still staying true to the root, right? Like our primary job, again, as AGA, is to make sure that your golf is the same as my golf. We're all playing the same game. So we want to make sure that we're still hitting on that point there. I love the laser pointer. Brand position. I'm going to go over this super fast because I don't want to get lost in the weeds specifically on this one. But this specifically is how external factors like perceive our brand as AZ Golf. This is kind of a little bit easy to get lost in the weeds in this, and I'm happy to talk through this in greater detail after the presentation. But we were grading ourselves on this sliding scale of governance, approachability, and relevance, right? We like skewed super, super high governance, right? Like not super approachable, not super relevant in terms of like who we were as AZ Golf. Not through the lens of golf, because golf is incredibly relevant, but we wanted to make sure that people tied golf to AZ Golf, and we were missing that connection point. So when we first started, we skewed more governance, skewed a little bit more approachable, less relevant, right? The goal was to slide closer, not necessarily dead center. You don't want to be like okay at all things. You need to be better in certain things. And still, our major role is governance. So we skewed that route, but we're now finding ourselves in the middle of approachability and relevance. Cool? Major reminder here. This visual speaks to our brand optics, external viewership, not our actual offerings as a brand, right? Obviously, you know everything that happens within your house of an AGA, right? It doesn't mean that the way that it's perceived is the same as the way that you know it to be. So this is a major honesty point for us, something that we spend a lot of time with, and yeah. Any questions? Nobody's interrupted yet. Yeah.
How did you like assess that you guys were at that point of the triangle?
Yeah, I mean
Was it surveys?
when we started, well, a lot of it is also just like kind of understanding it from an outsider looking in, right? Talk to your people, talk to the golf professionals within your area. We had like golf brands within our area that didn't even know who like Arizona Golf Association was. I thought they were just getting a mailer every once in a while when really is our publication, right? So also, like, me coming in, this was one of the very first things that I did as an outsider looking in. So like before I really got a really deep dive into the association and sat down with each like relevant team member, I wanted to make sure I had a perspective from an outsider looking in before I learned too much, right? Which is kind of like odd to say, but ask your people. Narrative. Okay, so I like to call this our elevator pitch, our 60-second hook, so on and so forth. So this again is really meant to pull on the heartstrings. It's meant to speak to your organization as a whole, while also like kind of recalling some sort of emotion directly from your consumer. So our brand narrative is, this is like as a whole for Easy Golf, we exist to connect golfers with the greatest game on this green earth. As the governing body of Arizona Golf, we consistently strive to elevate sport and unlock access for all levels of players, embracing a beginner's road to refinement while celebrating competition amongst champions. We share great love for this game and invite you to experience the most enjoyable heart rates, greenest of pastures, and luckiest of bounces. Nobody starts from scratch, and we surely don't expect you to. What would be the fun of that anyway? Let's play some golf. Right? We're now speaking to all level players. We are trying to be as approachable as humanly possible with letting everybody know, like, hey, it is not the perspective that you need to be even nearly a scratch player. And we're inviting them to come play with us, right? Like, let's play some golf. It ensues some sort of action point afterward. So, one way that we brought this to life was to create a brand narrative video, and here it is. Hopefully the volume works.
We exist to connect golfers with the greatest game on this green earth.
As the governing body of Arizona Golf, we continuously strive to elevate sport
and unlock access for all levels of players,
Embracing the beginner's road to refinement
while celebrating competition
amongst champions.
Let's go! Woo!
We share great love for this game
and invite you to experience the most enjoyable of heartbreaks,
greenest of pastures,
and the luckiest of bounces.
Nobody starts from scratch, and we surely don't expect you to.
What would be the fun in that anyway?
Yeah, this is good.
Let's play some golf.
Cool. So one really awesome point about this too is we have like a lot of really great opt-in from our staff. That the voices that you hear in that are actually all the staff at AZ Golf. So it was cool to be able to share that with them first and foremost, but then also allow them to be part of it because it gives them a reason to invest in it as well. Cool. Brand pillars. So these are like our moral guide rails to help us sustain long-term growth and direction as a brand. Right? Like these are very, very commonly referred to internally, even more so. I just want to make sure like these are not to be mistaken to core values. Right? Core values are many times like outward facing, a little bit more HR focused. We wanted to make sure that these still align with our values within golf, but also gave us a really good like reflection point to make sure that we're just continuously all paddling in the same direction. So first and foremost, first brand pillars for the love of the game. It is our reason. How do you bring that to life? You make time to play golf, right? Like you make time to invite others into the actual game. You celebrate others within their achievement within the game, so on and so forth. And it's really important not to lose a sense of why we all work in golf, in the golf industry, right? Just because we actually enjoy the game and we love playing it. Number two is our practice, and our practice is to shave a stroke. We believe that every round should be more polished than the last, right? This is our ability to be able to walk the course, prepare accordingly, to come up with plan A, B, and C before going into battle, so on and so forth. And this is a good way for us to make sure that we're passing around that level of preparation to all staff members. Number three is a bucket of balls. Ange knows the story well. I played the worst golf ever at a course called Longbow like 3 years ago, and I was so frustrated after the round. I like dropped the cart off and walked straight to the driving range and just like continued to have a bad day, right? But at the end, I didn't want to end on a miss. I wanted to end on a positive note. And I think that's how we carry that same personality of bucket of balls and we call that our truth, that if you mess up, go back and reflect. Take time to see where the misses were. Sit with that. Watch the film, right? Take something that you can actually learn into it, so the next time around you're shaving the strip. Cool. Okay, next is personas. We wanted to get an idea of who we're actually speaking to, and in doing so, we took the USGA 8 presented segments, and it's really hard to speak to like 8 segments at all times, and sometimes there's like a lot of like overlap within that. So we defined them a little bit differently. So we took those 8 segments and we created these 3 personas, right? Our 3 personas is recreational, engaged, and competitive. Recreational, we say like the tagline, mulligans for all, right? Those are the ones that are getting out there just to have fun, lose a ball, drop a ball, kind of a thing, you know? Engaged is maybe a breakfast ball or 2, maybe on the front, maybe on the back. Those are the ones that are starting to get a little bit more confident in their game. Might get scramble days and try. Might do a 1-day series for us. Diving a little bit more, tipping their tongue to that competitive market. And then competitor, which we call not straight up, right? Like you're not dropping the ball, counting all your strokes, making sure that you're playing 100% perfect. And those are like our probably top 3 of our membership, the ones that consistently dive into our most competitive events. And the ones that are playing the most competitive golf. Now, it is really important that I call this out. So we're within these 3. Never did I mention anything around age, their look, their income, anything like that. I'm just talking playing style, right? So when you guys are actually branding and outward speaking to your membership, make sure that you're hitting on all 3 of these. So you can put together a well-bodied communication plan that hits on 100% of your membership. Cool. Okay. Last thing I think before we get into the actual brand look and feel guide, this is like the we are, just kind of really simple ways to define who you are as a brand, right? We are welcoming, but never a catch-all. We are facilitators, not the main attraction. I know it's kind of hard to see these images. But facilitators, not the main attraction, and we are competitive without alienation, right? So you can never be all things to your consumer base, right? Like we're not targeting pickleball players to come over and play golf. Might not be a bad idea if we do it the right way, but that's not our go-to market strategy. Facilitators of the game, golf is the main attraction. We just want to make sure that more people can play it. And then number 3, competitive without alienation. We are providing opportunities for people to better their game in hopes that they further invest in golf throughout their lifetime. Cool, brand guidelines. This will give you a good sense of the actual visuals that we took within our rebrand. So there's a couple things that I don't hit on here, but if anybody remembers the old Arizona Golf Association logo is a circle, right? A 1x1 block. It's really hard to scale in a vertical or horizontal space. So we created a logo, which is the marriage of this cactus tee and this golf script. You'll see it in just a second. They slide together to provide that 1x1 lockup when we're working within a square area. But for instance, on a feather banner at our tournaments, we can take our, let's go to the next slide, there we go. We can take our cactus tee and we can run that vertically. Now what about a tablecloth to check in, right? Well, we have this easy golf little script right here that allows us to then separate it again and work within a horizontal space. So this is something to keep in mind as you guys dive deeper into your brands. We really wanted to tell a very, very intentional story of our brand while we were creating it. A lot of time went into this logo. I think we probably had upwards of like 9 to 10 different variations of like, not necessarily even this logo, but different routes that we also looked at for like an exploratory phase. And we landed on a very, very rough version of this cactus tee, first and foremost, and then we continued to refine and whittle it down into what you see here. So let me walk through a couple of like major details within this logo. So obviously it's a cactus, right? We have 2 arms, one on the left, one on the right. It's rooted in the cactus tee. There's 2 spines on the left 3 on the right. That goes back to 1923 when we founded it, right? 2 on the left, 3 on the right. 23. It slides. Oh no! You can allow me to keep it back. And we're back. Put the pin in the hole, right? Here's this. And then we also have AZ Golf. This is handwritten. No joke, probably 35 rounds just of script. Now, why did we do a script handwritten logo? Is because our logo type is actually like approachable. It's all lowercase, but it is imperfect, just like our golf game, right? There's not uniformity within this. Good luck playing the same exact golf every single time you go out. So let's make sure that we have a talking point within that. Shout out to the graphic designer that I made write that so many times. You'll see it here in a second. Okay, and then I know this is hard to see, maybe for the people in the back, because I think that black kind of blends in with the slide color, but these are these are like our 5 main color palette points. And the reason for that is like we wanted to define our colors within the space so we can make sure that we are like recalling them on a regular basis, right? So if you look at this backpack, shout out Jones for actually having the color palette, but we're working within a cream backpack, red straps as an accent color, and then a base in black as well. So we wanted to make sure that we knew what we had there, so that way when it comes time to produce a piece of creative, we know what we're working with. It streamlines everything. I know it may seem like you're putting handcuffs on and you're now working within 5 colors 24/7, but guys, this makes your life so much easier to have a set color palette. Believe me. I'll show you some examples in a second. And then of course font, right? Like we wanted to find a font that felt somewhat traditional, somewhat bubbly, somewhat approachable, and this is where we landed. A font called Seriously Designed. There's hundreds of thousands of fonts. Good luck finding the one that fits exactly to your personality. There's plenty to choose from out there, so if that's something that you guys want to invest in, this is a great opportunity to do so. Okay, and then I just wanted to show now like each separate piece and how we brought it into play within rollout. We really wanted to make sure that people were invested in our story and we were giving them a reason to invest, and we wanted to show the intentionality behind it. So we created videos like this. Little 30-second clip on how it was made. This blew up on social. People were going in on it, which is great. Next one is color palette, right? Our 2 main colors is this obsidian and this white. Now we wanted to make sure that people knew why we chose those colors, right? So first and foremost, the black one it's our hero color, right? It shows up nicely. So does the green. Very nice inverse colors of each other. Now that alabaster draws inspiration from typical desert landscape. A lot of sand, a lot of like subdued kind of like pastel desert colors within that. Red, we call that red rocks, tying back to Sedona. If you guys have ever been to Sedona, red rock. And then also the awesome sunsets that we see down in Tucson, Arizona. So making sure that we are hitting on northern and southern parts of the state. Dark gray, because we have monsoons, you know. And then the light gray, again, a good way for us to showcase across a very, very vibrant, rich golf course. We did not include blue or green because a lot of what we do, we're shooting on a golf course, right? We don't want our logo to get lost in the blue of the sky or the green of the grass. A couple other ways that we showcase color is leaderboards. This was at our our 100th amateur championship. to show the standings of the tournament. Scorecard graphics right here. Wheaton Ennis, I don't know if that name has popped up at all anywhere else, but this kid is an animal, 18 years old, won our amateur. Seated first in stroke play, and then ran away with it with match play. This guy was out here just taking people's ankles. And then also just showcasing like some interesting ways to build that font back into the contrast of the sky. And then this is our annual meeting booklet right here, right? Tying in almost all of these colors. Any questions before you jump? All right, and then also just a showcase of the font. This is one of our pages pulled directly from our publication. This is the font that we grabbed up here. Again, seriously nostalgic, and you can see how it's being used across all these different places within our publication. All right, now the culmination of all these things coming together is actual content. So we've broken these content pieces into 3 buckets. So this is how we celebrate golf within the state of Arizona. This is not a sanctioned Arizona event. This is just a golfer within Arizona that we know really well, that's been playing out of her mind on the GiA tour, and also got some really awesome opportunity to play at a professional level.
One local golfer is getting set to give the pros a run for their money, and she's not even old enough to drive.
15-year-old amateur golfer Ashley Stahl debut on the LPGA Tour.
Super competitive, super dedicated to what she does. It shows not just as the Curry Cup champion she was last year, but the way that she represents herself, her family.
Ashley Shaw, 15-year-old golfer from Litchfield Park.
Tiger was 20 when he made his PGA debut. Phil was 22. Nelly was 19. So 15 is just off the charts. How does it feel to, I want to say be in that company, but that's almost better than that company?
I was actually on the putting green. There was a lot of the pros were out there putting, and I just kind of looked around and I just realized, I told myself, I can either approach this 2 ways. I can either be nervous, or I could just, realize I'm here for a reason, and I belong here, and I belong to play with the best of the best. Whatever happens, I'm gonna have fun. I don't care what I shoot, what happens, I'm going to have fun. Out there walking with my mom as my caddy. I know you guys have seen that many times. My mom's my caddy. Diversity is really important in the game of golf. It's important everywhere, but not everyone on the course looks the same. And events like the John Shippen provides exposure into the game. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for the John Shippen. I would be right back at home. It's amazing, and here I am playing in my first LPGA event. I couldn't ask for a better week.
Cool. So that's one awesome way to be able to celebrate local players in the state. Next one is a wrap up of our amateur championship and just showing how we highlighted certain players' voices, how we show that in the sense of a recap, all while being consistent to our round.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Phoenix Country Club for the 100th Annual Championship. The number 1 seed from Litchfield Park, Arizona, Wheaton Ennis, and the 15th from Northern Arizona,
Sorry, you guys can't really do that. I'm not sure it's happening.
No, I just want to
I'm not sure what happened in the interview piece of that with the speaker, but we're getting questions as we kind of go over the highlights of Wheaton, and then also, of course, ending with our logo is a big one, just to make sure that we have that uniformity of start and end within our content. And then the last piece is a little bit more of a bumpy sense, a good way to like highlight volunteers and show some appreciation back to the staff that involved.
Okay, good morning. We're here at the Papago Golf Course for a one-day event here on Friday. I will be the starter today. How are you today?
Yeah.
You ready, Doug?
How long have you been volunteering golf?
Well, with AG Golf, it has been 2 years, but I've been volunteering for golf for 25 years. I was a walking scorer with the PGA. I've been able to do US Opens. I still do waste management, but I love the AGA. It makes for a very fun, enjoyable day for both me and for them because I enjoy them and they enjoy me. Gentlemen, I'm Tom. It's going to be fun.
I hear you're
Now you're going to make me blush up. Getting to see all the players, like seeing the players I've seen before, meeting new players, getting them to come back and play more with us. I mean, my approach is I want to give every player a professional experience and treat them with dignity and respect. Good morning and welcome to the AZ Golf One-Day Series hosted by Papago Golf Club. Please welcome from Gilbert, Logan Hill. I wait till the person has picked up their tee and they've walked away, and then I announce so that the person I'm announcing has the stage to him or herself.
You got a hook cut up?
Well, ladies, please stay hydrated.
I'll keep it in mind. We'll have fun.
Well, that's the key. Thank you, Tamika. Gentlemen, have fun, play well. We'll see you at another event.
It is truly like that in person too. Yes.
For your different types of like videos and the different content that you have, they're targeting different demographics. How do you do that without your overall brand feeling inconsistent? Like, how do you target specific demographics without looking inconsistent?
Yeah, so one really important thing to call out first is the first video all the way to the left, Ashley Shaw. Those weren't any of our events, right? So of course we were getting that content, either reaching out to them, asking those providers of that content, and then of course making sure that we're giving them proper credibility, which is why we don't start and end with an AZ Golf Club, right? That's not ours. We're not putting our stamp on that because we didn't shoot it. We're just spreading the word of her awesome success, right? Now for the last two, we start with our logo, end with our logo, and a lot of the shot progression is the same. Right? So again, it's like creating that uniformity, creating that consistent look and feel within your videos. So that way, my hope is that as you're on your Instagram Discover page, you see something that looks remotely close to this, and your first thought is, oh, that might be AZ Golf. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
What is the turnaround time for to complete a video like that? And
Yeah.
kind of, like, what do you see? Like, who's involved in that?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a difficult question just to answer in the sense of like everybody's head count is different. Now we have a videographer almost at like every single event to make sure that we don't miss anything.
Is that like videographer like
We had a videographer on staff. Yes. So for instance, this center one, I know it might sound wild, but like for our amateur championship. It was a 6-day tournament. We had content out there every single day, produced 3 videos within that 6-day span. So like that video in particular, we wrapped match play, he went home, edited, and then we flipped it the same way. Now, everybody doesn't have the opportunity to have a videographer on staff, right? Now there's ways to go about that. I would encourage you to sit down with your tournaments team, look at the schedule, highlight the major events that you want content captured at, and then look at the events videographer. If you don't have a videographer in your staff, come in and start to create that for you, and you can almost create a template within it. It gets faster and faster the more you go. Yeah. We can talk more after the some insight on that. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. Well, that's all I have for you guys. I think we're running up on time. I actually don't know what time I was supposed to finish.